So today's watch is a Citizen Datejust. I got this watch about a month ago and I just got it serviced, so you can see that it's running pretty nicely here. So what do I mean by a Datejust in particular? Well, I'm referring to the Rolex Datejust, which is a really popular model of Rolex. And there's certain features that people identify as a Datejust. So things like a fluted bezel is pretty popular. Things like a date window at the 3 o'clock, baton hands and indices. Those things kind of give it a Datejust look. So there's watches outside of Rolex, such as in Citizen and Seiko watches, that also share those features. So you can call these watches like the one I'm showing you today, you can call it maybe a Rolex homage or Datejust homage. I wouldn't call it a copy or a clone because there's definitely some differences between them, but it is kind of that Datejust style. So let's take a look at this watch here. You can see we do have that nice fluted bezel. It's a fixed bezel, but it feels quite nice and sturdy. If you look at the dial here, it's two-tone, so you can see we have a white background or the white dial with gold indices. Again, baton hands and indices. You can't really see it, but if you just catch at the right angle, it's actually not a solid dial. There's actually vertical lines stretching down the entire dial, kind of like the Grand Seiko SBGA 427 that I reviewed over a year ago now. You can see, I don't know if I can show it, but if you look really closely, there's these vertical lines, kind of like a linen effect to it. And of course, you can see right there that eagle has 7. For some reason, I don't know the history behind it, but it seems like a lot of Citizen mechanical vintage watches have a 7 on them, a 7-star or a 7 with the logo. I'm not sure what that means, but maybe it's similar to how we have Seiko 5. Maybe we had Citizen 7. Overall, I really like the dial. It's very legible. White and gold and silver are a great combination. There is like a black strip for each indices, so it is easy to read the time. So it's very legible. The date window, again, very clean. And even before I got it serviced, it seemed to be running well, but I just wanted to get it serviced anyways. One advantage of this Citizen Datejust versus something like a Seiko Datejust is that there is hand winding, so it can wind very nicely. You can also change the day and the date. Let's try that. And it looks like this has French as the second language. We can also change the day, and I can also adjust the time. Now it doesn't have hacking, so you can see I'm changing the time here, but the watch continues to tick. That is pretty typical of more affordable watches. There's just no hacking, unfortunately. And then we move on to the case. It's actually in really good shape. I did not get this watch polished when it came in for service. So you can see me here. It's really, really in good condition. There's of course some small scratches, but overall it's in pretty good shape. The brush finishing is still there. You can see no major gashes, no major problems. The bracelet is a jubilee style bracelet, which I think Rolex is most popular for the jubilee style, but some vintage watches, vintage Seikos and vintage Citizens will have them. Sign clasp, if we open it up here, it is kind of cheap feeling. You can see that it jingles. It is folded links, if you can just barely see that outline here. So they're not solid. There is also some sag to it. So this is called bracelet sag. What usually happens is that the links get kind of stretched out, usually from just wear and tear, also from dirt getting in between the links. You end up getting some sag. The sag here is not too bad, but it is there, which is unfortunate, but also understandable because this watch is probably from around the 1970s. The case back, there's really not much else to say. It's just a solid case back, nothing really special. There is, I think, the model number, so you can search it up. I'll put it in the title if I can. You can find these watches for probably around $150 depending on the condition. But this one's in really, really good shape, so this would probably sell for more. Let's get it on the wrist here, if I can find the right orientation. I'll also do a quick size check here. So this is it on my 6-inch wrist. You can see it fits pretty well. I'll just move it down here. So I think this could fit most wrist sizes. Mine's a 6-inch wrist, so it's quite small, but I think this can fit even larger wrist sizes. I'm gonna guess that the lug to lug is probably around like 45 millimeters. Yeah, it's probably around 45 millimeters. The case is probably around 39 millimeters. So a good size in my opinion, not too big, not too small, just the perfect size. So here's the watch, the Citizen, in comparison to a Seiko Datejust. The Seiko Datejust here, unfortunately I couldn't find it in the original bracelet, so it's just on a leather strap. But you can see the kind of similarities. You have the date window at 3 o'clock, fluted bezel, baton hands and indices. You know, that kind of gives it that Datejust look. Although I will say that for the Seiko Datejust, the hands are a little bit thicker, indices are a little bit different, and the Seiko has a sunburst pattern, whereas this one's more of a matte linen pattern. And price is also different. The Citizen Datejusts are usually, again, a little bit cheaper, 150 bucks. These Seikos, if you have it in the original bracelet, these guys can go for probably like $200, $250 even. There's a certain two-tone model that was featured in the film American Psycho. That one can sell for, I think, up to 400 Canadian dollars, 400 to 500 Canadian dollars, which is like 300 to 400 US dollars. So I think because Seiko 5 is just a more popular brand, and of course the movie feature, Seiko 5s are a little bit more expensive than the Citizens, but I kind of like the Citizens more because you don't see too many automatic, or you just don't see mechanical Citizens that often in general. And the Seiko does not have hacking. So Seiko 5s, most of them don't have hacking. So you can see I'm moving the crown, but nothing's happening here. Whereas this one does have the hacking feature. So if you are looking for that Datejust alternative, maybe a cheaper alternative, you can look towards the Seiko 5s because they have their lineup of the Datejust homages. But you can also look at Citizen. They will be a little bit older than the Seiko 5s. Again, this watch is probably from the 1970s or 1980s, but I think it's still really, it stands as a good Datejust alternative, and you won't be breaking the bank if you choose this watch here. So anyways, that is my video for the Seiko Datejust. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing this very interesting Citizen watch. Be sure to subscribe for more videos, and as always, I will see you guys next time.